Welcome back, everybody. Episode 2 of the YouTube channel. So, today's going to be a little bit different. I want to talk about a little bit about my past, about what my training has looked like in the past, along with some of my future goals with my training, and yeah, just a little bit about me in general. So, let's jump into it.
'Cause I got spurs that jingle, jangle, jingle.
Jingle, jangle.
Now, what have I just finished? So, I have just finished a 12-week training program called Power Building, and that was developed by Coach Josh Bryant, who is the coach of many world-class athletes and strongmen and powerlifters. A lot stronger than me, I might add. The reason I jumped into this program, especially the Power Building program, is I wanted to get stronger. Now, in the past, I've done a lot of heavy bodybuilding sort of training, along with I was training for a marathon last year, which I'll get to in a minute. So the reason I wanted to do this strength program is to really build on my compound lifts and my base with my strength. So I really want to get a better squat, bench, and deadlift. Simple. So this program really appealed to me because Josh Bryant in all of his training has some unorthodox sort of training methods. You could say unorthodox accessory work to complement all of your main work in your squat, bench, and deadlifts. So yeah, it was absolutely unreal. I hit some great numbers at the end of my program. So prior to starting the 12 weeks, I had an 85 kilo bench press, I had a 110 kilo squat, and a 150 kilo deadlift. Now these aren't very great numbers, so I really wanted to be able to improve that, and especially being in the gym environment that I train at. I train at Southern Strength Conditioning in Adelaide. Now that's a great place. You're always surrounded by super strong guys, so it really pushes you to be able to, to get stronger simply. So I did all of my training there and absolutely loved it. So yeah, prior to that, like I said, I didn't have very high lifts in all of my the big three, but the training I'd done before that had been heavily bodybuilding focused. So I'd always been really into old school bodybuilding. Hence, I got an Arnold poster on my wall right now. But I'd always been into old school bodybuilding, and I'd never really done any 1-rep maxes. So I may have been undershooting all of my big three lifts prior to that. So regardless, I went in and used all the percentages that I built all of my training off of were off of the 85 kilo bench, 110 kilo squat, and the 150 kilo deadlift. So at the end of my program, I managed to hit a 140 kilo squat, which I was super happy with. I added 30 kilos under my squat, which was awesome. I added 15 kilos onto my bench press. So I went from 85 kilos to 100. So I finally hit the triple digits. So that was awesome. Along with my deadlift wasn't such a good story. So I went to pull 160 and I failed it. So I was a little bit annoyed about that. However, prior to that, I'd hit the 130 kilo squat, 140 kilo squat, and I could have been gassed. However, that's still an excuse because all in all, powerlifting competitions, as many of you would know, you lift straight up one after another. So that's definitely not an excuse. So in the next few weeks, I really want to try and hit the 160, and yeah, try to pull that number because I reckon I've got it in me. So overall, I was super happy with the program. I was happy with how it went. I really enjoyed it because it was refreshing to do a lot of these new exercises that I don't typically do in the exercises I've done in the past in regards to like the bodybuilding sort of stuff. So yeah, I absolutely loved it. Now, what did I do before that? So before that, I trained for a marathon. Now, in the past, I have played football. So since an early age, I played football for 10 years. So that's the only sport I played as a kid. I was just football. My life was, Aussie rules football. And while I was at football, my running was never up to par. And that always really affected me. I remember being out at some training sessions and I'd have to do 2-kilometer time trials and I'd get myself so worked up before them and after them. I remember I'd be sweating, feel like throwing up. I think I did throw up one time. But yeah, I just absolutely hated it. And it was just, I was always a bad runner, especially long distance. During the games, I was fine, but just long distance, I just struggled with. So my biggest goal last year was to be able to run a marathon and teach myself, most importantly, exactly how to run. So I believe I definitely accomplished that goal of teaching myself how to run, and I've got a great relationship with running. And I feel like that's the most important thing with running, is building a good relationship with it. Now, I'm definitely not the best runner by any means, definitely not the fastest runner. However, I enjoy running, and I think that's a really important step, especially when you're starting out running and starting off with marathon training. So I can delve into all of my running and stuff in another video, but I just want to touch on exactly why I train for a marathon. So ultimately become a better runner. So during the marathon training, I jumped into doing a 12-week marathon prep program. Now this is going off of doing no running whatsoever before that, and I got injured. So I got it to about week 7 or 8 of the program. I reckon it was week 8 of the program. And I would reckon I was going for a 25k. So the previous week I finished a half marathon, and that was the second half marathon I'd run. And I went for a 25k the following week after the half marathon, and both of my ITB bands were just screaming. And I'd had trouble throughout the program, but I'd always had that David Goggins mindset of just pushing through and not worrying about it. However, it all caught up to me. Yeah, ended up injuring myself. So both I had extremely bad knee pain, and I had to stop and get call for someone to come pick me up halfway through my run. So that really sucked, and I was a bit disappointed about that. So the past year or so, it's just been trying to rehab my tight hips and my ITB band pain. So it's never really gone away. It's still somewhat lingering there. It's marginally better from what it was. Now, another reason I wanted to jump into the strength program I did is I really wanted to strengthen up all of my core and all of my hips, because all of them are just withered away from all the marathon training I did. So I've done a marathon training, which I failed, and I've done a successful strength program. So what's it going to look like going forward in regards to my training? So developing this Walden brand, it's been super exciting for me, as I've always been so heavily interested in so many different sports. And prior to this, I've always been trying to, in terms of building a business or even my interest, to try and narrow myself down into exactly one thing. But it's just not my personality. I've just never been interested in one thing at a time. People that know me, I would have so many different hobbies, and all of a sudden just become super interested and just, narrowly focused on one task. So I thought, why not, instead of narrowing down on one sort of sport, why not do them all? So that's what the Walden brand's about, is being able to use the hybrid philosophy to be able to do all the different things I like doing, whether that's surfing, whether that's playing basketball. I'm currently in a basketball team on Wednesdays, with my marathon running, but I also love the gym as well. So being able to incorporate all of those things is really exciting. What does this mean going forward? Now, I've just developed a program for myself, and I'm sort of in the trialing out phase of incorporating a lot of the bodybuilding lessons I've learned, the strength lessons I've learned, especially taking a lot of little tips and tricks from the program I just did with Josh Bryant, taking a few nuances from that and developing my own program that is training for a marathon, but also hoping to hit a 170 kilo deadlift. So the deadlift was my biggest, you could say, fault in the last strength program. So I really want to focus on that. Also, actually run a marathon. So really excited for this, as I've got two pretty hefty goals, and especially at the same time, because typically in the past, when you're doing your marathon sort of training, a lot of the guys are really skinny, and they're not super strong, or they don't maintain that real strong conditioning. So that's my biggest goal, is to be able to maintain both of them, be strong, and be able to run the marathon injury free, hopefully. So that's sort of my plan coming up. So I'm still, as I said, I'm in the teething process of working exactly out my programming of how that's going, but I'm 1 week in and I feel unreal. I've got fresh legs. I'm gym 3 times a week, running 3 times a week. So super stoked with the program I've just developed, and especially coming off this strength program, I feel really strong, and I'm just really focusing this time on injury prevention through stretching, and just my recovery and everything like that. But I'm really looking forward to delving into training for a marathon again, and working on my deadlift. So yeah, that's sort of where I'm at the moment in regards to my program coming up. And yeah, I'll definitely touch base a lot more in the future, and I'll probably make another video on all the ins and outs of the program that I've developed and how that is tracking along. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. That's basically just an overview of exactly what I've done in the past and where I'm at, and yeah, just a little brief history about all of my training and stuff. So yeah, stay tuned for the next video, like and subscribe, and thanks, guys. Much appreciated. We'll see you next time.
In the rain, covered with a mist, where the lips I kissed